Welcome to Artistic Adventures. We're up to part 4 of our Blythe customization project, and today we're going to work on adding color and definition to the face. Let's go. Okay, we're going to start working on our face, and I've already put on 2 coats of Liquitex matte medium, and I'll show you what that looks like in the bottle. It's like that. I did put this on with a brush. You can apply it with a brush, or you can use, if you thin it down just a little bit with water, you could use it in an airbrush. For this, I just actually brushed it on, just making sure that I brushed it out so that there weren't any brush marks. And I do that by going this way and then this way with the brush and using very thin coats. And then when it dries, it really dries and sort of evens out, and you don't have the any kind of brush marks. So I think we're ready to start working on some color. I did the same thing to the back and to the eyelids of the eye mechanism, this area. And the reason I use the matte medium is to protect the plastic from absorbing any of the color from the products that I use, so that if you want to change it in the future, you can. And also to provide a grippy surface for some of the items that require that, or that looked, will look better with that, like the pastels and watercolor pencils. So what I'm using is some chalk pastels for color. I'm using some watercolor pencils. I'm going to use some acrylic paint, and have my cup of water here to dip my brushes in if I need it. And as far as tools, I'll be using a variety of different paintbrushes. I use all different sizes, and I use a cuticle stick sometimes. I'll dampen it and use it to help correct mistakes. I use my pointer for whatever comes up. I have 2 white erasers, a thick one and a thin one, for getting rid of some of the areas that I want to correct, and occasionally I have need for a Q-tip. Why not? Alright, so I've let this matte medium dry, and you really need to let that dry about an hour or so at least. Otherwise, if you start putting color down, you'll pick up the matte medium. It'll just come off. So the first thing that I want to work on is always the mouth, because the mouth for me is the hardest part. I don't know why. It just is. I spend so much time working on the mouth. So the first thing that I want to do is apply some color into the crease. So I'm going to use, I think, this brush, because I think, well, that's not, maybe I'll use this one so I can get down into the crease. So I want to put a darker color in there, and I'm going to be using sort of natural colors on her face, because we're going to be using a lot of brown in her costume. So I want her face to look more natural colors as opposed to really made up colors. So the first color I'm going to use is a darker reddish brown, sort of a brick red. And I'm going to try to put that right in the crease. Like that. And then also bring it up into some of the creases that I put in her lips. And that middle part. And this just helps to define those areas a little bit more. Things that are dark go in and things that are light come out. So I'm still using that technique, even though, the parts of the lip that do go in, are kind of, defined by the fact that they're carved in. So that's going to be the first step. And a lot of this is similar to what we do with Monster High. So not a whole lot of difference, other than the hard plastic is a little different in terms of how it accepts some of the colors. And so next I want to put a sort of brownish pink on her lips. And oh, here's the other thing I use. Glasses. Because I can't see up close. Alright, let me get my glasses on. Oh, I got a big thumbprint in the middle of them. Let me clean that off. Alright. Let's get this a little bit closer. Actually, I think I'll do this in a little bit too, so you can see. Let me get this adjusted. And then a little bit closer and in focus. It's always good when it's in focus. Right. Alright, so now I'm sort of putting this color down to define the outer edges of the lips. And like I said, I wanted it to be sort of natural, so I'm not doing this so much to make it look like lipstick, but to make it look like the natural pink of the lip. And remember, she had these upper lip part, you know, came up pretty high and then sort of tapered down at the edge. Okay. Now on this part, I do want to try to darken up the underneath down here, because that's going to be in shadow, and then this part on the middle would be more light or lighter, and that's because of, you know, the shape of the lip. So I've already started getting stuff, powder everywhere. Can always go back and clean up areas, so don't worry about it if you get the pastel colors in areas that you don't want them. That's just going to happen with pastels, especially these softer ones. The ones that I'm using are really soft. That's why I ended up putting them in this little container over here. I pulled a chunk of them off and put them in this container, the ones I use most frequently, because they just powder up. But they work really, the softer ones are better, I think. Alright, let me get back over here and view. You can really start to see the lips, you know, look more lifelike when you start getting the color on and the contour of the darker and the lighter colors. They really look like little lips. Yeah. Alright, I'm going to take that darker color that I used in the crease. I'm going to try to put that right under here on the bottom side. Okay, so I'm kind of going to leave the lips where they are right now, because I know I'll end up touching them up as I finish up here. So, you know, because we're not having to do the eyes, which I think is a hard part of doing like a Monster High doll, we're drawing the eyes in. We don't have to worry about drawing the eyes in. So we're just going to do some shading around the eyes, and I always do that to sort of match the costume or whatever, because I I want all of the colors to really complement each other. So I'm going to also lightly, woo! That one went flying. See if I have another one. Oh, I know what I want to do next. I want to do the eyebrows. Now I have this little tiny brush that I cut it off. So it would be it's really stiff because I want to really get the eyebrows to look right. I'm having to refilm this part because my husband started talking in the background and he didn't realize I was filming. So anyway, I'm using this brush and I'm putting down a light coat of pastels just to get it even. And then I'm going to use watercolor pencils on either side, on top of this to create more of the hair-like look. And I also wanted to talk about the way they are positioned, going to help create the look or the expression of the doll. And this doll, not really giving her I don't want her to look mean necessarily, but I want her to look like, I don't want her to look like she's sad or vulnerable or anything like that, because a lot of times with Blythe dolls, they do sort of have that wayfish, vulnerable look. But this gal's going to be, a steampunk adventurer, so I'm going to give her kind of a neutral look. I do have a video where I talk about the shape of eyebrows and lips and things. If you want to look at that in more depth about how the shape of the eyebrows can make the expression angry or sad or surprised or whatever. So these are going to be kind of just neutral eyebrows, and they look pretty even. Now I'm going to use a darker color. I have my black ready here, but I'm going to use a darker color, brown, first, and I'm going to make some strokes like hairs that if you look at your eyebrows, these are more standing straight up and these kind of lean over more horizontally. So I just kind of follow that pattern, but eyebrows are not perfectly patterned in any event, so. And then you might have some that kind of come down from the top, and they'll blend in. And that kind of makes it darker in the center. Lots of different ways to do eyebrows. Take a look at some different pictures of Blythe, and you'll see a whole lots of different ways to do eyebrows. And you don't have to do yours the same on every doll, and I don't. I really think about, what I want the expression to look like, as well as the colors of the costume. Is she going to be a more pastel or more dark colors? Also, if her hair is going to be lighter, probably her brows will be lighter. Unlike people like me who have blonde hair and really dark eyebrows. I don't know where that came from. But, so, we'll work on those more as we go along. I'll probably add in some black. Also, like I said, I like to have more than one color in the eyebrows because that's how most people's brows are. Alright, so I'm going to leave that there for now. When I stopped the camera, I went and picked up my blush brush, which is fluffy. It's actually it is a makeup brush. It's a eye blending brush, but it's really thick. I love the way it puts down blush. So we're going to really do a light color, but it's a peachy pink color, not a pinky color, because we're using a lot of browns. And I really feel like this will go with her whole look better. So you just lightly, circularly apply the blush. Now if you wanted to have, you know, sort of a sun-kissed look, you might want to bring that over the nose, you know, to give her color, and maybe a little color up around the forehead. Remember, you can always get rid of this with some water. That's the nice thing about these products. And using that matte medium. You just want to give her a little bit of color instead of that matte plastic look. And you can always darken it later. It's always good to go light first and then go dark. Now, because I want to show you a lot of different techniques, I am going to put freckles on this doll. You don't have to put freckles, but a lot of Blythe dolls have them. And it's something, a technique that I wanted to show you. There's different ways to do it. Let's see if I want to do that right now or if I want to wait. I think I'll go ahead and do the shading around the eyes. Kind of get that over with. And I think I'll use this brush. So I think I'll put a little bit of brownish, sort of a brownish yellow down here. Just add in some color. You don't have to do this, just showing you different techniques. It does give the face some dimension, I think. I mean, you can already see that the color's adding so much to her face from just being a plain flat color. And while I'm at it with that color on the brush, I'm going to go ahead and do some shading in the ear. Because ears tend to have, you know, dark and light colors too. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Kind of get in the creases. You'll notice that they do have a hole for earrings, so you know, we can make earrings for her, which will be kind of cool. Some steampunk earrings. But so much more to go on this doll. So exciting. So much to do. Alright, now to get the color off of these brushes, a lot of times I just rub them on the paper towel until I don't see any color anymore. I'm going to switch colors but use the same brush. I think I'm going to use a little tiny bit of a dark navy right in here. Very light. And that's just because I think most people have sort of a dark blue or light blue shade color there. Sort of a shadow. You can see it's very, very light. Actually looks darker in real life than on the camera, but as you can see that a little bit. And we'll come over and do the same thing over here. So this is where that matte medium really helps, this pastel stick. Otherwise it wouldn't stick very well to the plastic. And I think for the upper eye here, I'm going to use a little bit of a lighter color blue. But it's more of a cornflower blue, not a bright blue. And you can use all sorts of colors. Doesn't have to be these colors. Really just doing this to go with the outfit and the type of look that I want for this doll. Let me go back and darken that up later, but for right now, I'm liking that. One thing I will do is sort of darken the edge here. Now let's say you wanted to have maybe like eyeliner and then a wing on the eyes for a more exotic looking type doll. You could do that. Just take, you could take a black pencil or a black watercolor pastel and, you know, come along the inside here and then kind of wing it out right here. You can do that. Lots of things we could do. So I just want to give some shadow around this crease here. A little bit in the fulcrum. Got that a little bit too dark, so I'm going to use a Q-tip and see if I can sort of get rid of some of that edge. And it didn't really work that well, so now here's where I would bring in some water. Smooth that out. Okay, now let's see, I want to go back to that brush that I had, and I want to do a little shadow down here around the chin. Oh no, that didn't work good either. I think it's the color I'm using. Maybe I should have used a little more brown color. That one had a little bit too much red in the brown. But you can always smooth it out with your water brush. And sometimes it looks better when you have to use the water brush because it does kind of, I think, melt the colors together more. Alright, kind of got that fixed. Now, let's do the nostrils. I think for that I'm just going to try to use a watercolor pencil to darken the inside. And if you have to, you can wet the tip of the watercolor pencil and color will come off a whole lot easier. It can also come off on the outside, which you don't want it to do. But that's darker. Yeah. Okay. So, freckles. Get rid of a little bit of a mistake there. Alright, so to do freckles, you can do it different ways, but I tend to use the color from a watercolor pencil. You could also use acrylic paint and water it down, but I'm going to use some water here. Just dripping some water in here, and then I'm just going to use my watercolor pencil to create a very light brown, thin watercolor. You can also take the color off with a paintbrush and mix it in here. Which I think I'm going to do a little bit. Kind of gets it more concentrated. There we go. Now there's some people who do their freckles by splatter. Like they'll take a brush like this and they'll put the thing on it and then they'll flick it, and it makes little droplets that are very abstract because they're different sizes, they're in different places, and I'm just not there yet. You know, I'm just a little too scared to do that, especially after I've painted the face. So what I do is I take a very tiny brush. Let me find my little tiny brush. Here it is. Like this. And I'm just going to do one to see if I have the right concentration. Yeah, it's a little too not dark enough, so I'm going to add some more with the brush. To make it just a little darker. Because what we're going to do is we're going to apply this and then we're going to blot it with the paper towel to give it the more accurate appearance of a freckle. Okay. Okay, so when I have a piece of paper towel ready, and you can do a few at a time, you don't have to do them all at one time, you know. So let's go ahead and do some. Different sizes all over the place. Don't make them the same size. Alright? And we're going to take our paper towel and blot them. Get that one right there. Boop. You see how it leaves that sort of light impression that looks more like freckles? And you know, I think I want to add a little bit of a yellowish tone to these because they're a little too brown, straight brown, like real cold color brown. So I've got another pencil that's better color. I'll just maybe put some yellow in it. Just mix it up here. Just doesn't seem to go with her, the rest of her color. Get a little bit of this reddish color in there too. This is a kind of a reddish brick red that I'm putting in there. Okay, let's try this. See if we like that better. Alright, so we've got those on there. Now we're going to blot them. Yeah, I like those better. Alright, let's do the other side now. I'm doing it over the nose and under the eyes because that's kind of that, you know, bridge area where you get a lot of sun, you know, so I think that naturally that's where a lot of freckles would be. So you can see how I'm varying between light, you know, dark, small, big. And if you don't like a particular freckle, like I don't like this one that's like melanoma instead of a freckle, just use your water pencil and get rid of it and do it again. Camera cut off of me, so kind of did that last one. So we've got freckles. May do more later. I don't know. I kind of want to see how she's coming together before I put more on. So that's a lot of the face. I want to go back now and work a little bit on the lips. And I'm going to use a darker color here at the bottom because it's really hard to get the chalk down here without getting it all over the chin. So I just want to create that darker shadow underneath. Also, you can bring up some stripes to help create that creased look of the lips. And you can go in here too. Alright, I'm liking that. Now, the other thing, if you need to do some definition up here, because we didn't want to use a really dark chalk, you can use a peach or flesh colored watercolor pencil and kind of create more definition up here. On the outer edge. Sort of like lip liner, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Alright. So, kind of happy with the lips. I put a little bit of a darker color right up here. Not very dark, just a little bit. Okay, now once we finish how we want this to look, we're going to spray it with a coat of, well, maybe 3 coats or so of Mr. Super Clear Matte. Alright, so that's going to put a matte surface down on the face. And then we're going to come back over the lips and do a clear gloss to make them look more like lips, more glossy looking. So we have a few more steps to make this really look, you know, the finished product. One thing I am going to go ahead and do is put a few darker hairs in here. I think that just adds a little bit more definition and variety. Okay, so that's where we are so far on the face. So what I'm going to do now is the back. Since I've got my colors out, I kind of wanted to have something that I put on every single doll. So I guess this is kind of like a logo. Not really, but not really my logo, but it's just something I wanted to put on the back of all of my Blythe dolls. And for that, I'm just going to use a permanent black marker. And I just put my initials. And then I do a little stick doll. And she has hair and a bow. And then I do a heart. And then down here I'm going to number it. This is the 12th custom doll, so it's number 12 that I've done. Custom Blythe doll. I've done lots of other type dolls. And then because it's a heart, I'm going to put some red. So this is on the back of all of my Blythe dolls. So that's sort of like my trademark image that I do. I don't know why. Just like a little doll. Alright, so the back's pretty much done. And now we're going to work on the eyelids. To do the eyes, I want to use acrylic paint. And the colors that I'm using for this are a brown, just basic brown, black, white. I have a gold, like an iridescent gold, and a bronze, and a silver, metallic. So my thought is I want to do an ombre from black to light brown on the eyelids, and then do some dots of the iridescent colors. A lot of times I'll do a design or even a little picture of something, but there's going to be a lot of steampunk going on here with, you know, watch parts and things. So I think I'm just going to do the dots, little dots on the eyelids. It'll match everything, but it won't be, you know, me trying to draw like a train or a steam engine, some other really good steampunk thing, because she'll have all that on her anyway. So I'm going to start with black, and let's see, that's my wet brush, and I want to try to make this as smooth as possible. So let me get over here where you can see the eyes themselves and that they're actually in focus. Okay. So the eyes, you can tell the front of the eyes because there's a gap here where the eyelashes were, and there's not on this side. Okay, so this is going to be the front of the eye. This will be how you're looking at her. So I want the black to start here and then shade it, getting lighter and lighter to a lighter brown. So I'm going to start with the black. These are all just, you know, regular acrylic colors. And I did put the matte medium on this, so just to let you know. So with the black still on my brush, I'm going to work in some brown here. And just want to sort of get these two together so that we create an ombre look that's pretty seamless. And I'm going to keep the brown going all the way up here. Then I'm going to mix a little white. Now I mixed that very well. I have my glasses on so I can see where I'm painting, but I can't see where I'm touching the paint because it's too far away. Alright. So this up here will be more. And you know, now that I look at that, I don't really like that. I think what I need to do is mix gold in with that so that it's ombre, black, brown, and then gold. But just at the very top, since I'm going to be using some gold dots. So you kind of get these colors in, and then you can go back and, you know, mix up the colors. Oop, that's too dark. I think I'm going to have to take my glasses off to do this because I can't see what I'm doing. Alright, that's better. Alright, we're getting there. Whoops. Clean off my brush. And we're going to go back over this black. You want these colors to be really deep and opaque. So you want them to really stand out when you close the doll's eyes. You don't want it to be the underneath plastic part, you know, to show through. You really want these colors to cover that lid completely. So that's looking pretty good ombre with the black to the brown. Alright, let's try to get a little more gold up here at the top. Gold it's acrylic, but it's a different type of paint. It's like a more liquidy, so it's not as mixable in the same way that the brown and the black was. So I'm going to put some more brown on here and try to blend that line. So once you get the colors down, you kind of get all the paint off of your brush and then you go over it. It's easier to blend it than when there's a whole lot of paint, you know, on the brush. So just a little tip there. Hope you guys are working on Blythe too. It'd be so exciting to see some of yours. If you are, let me know, or what you're working on right now, if it's not Blythe. But I hope this series is interesting to you, and a lot of these techniques you could use on other dolls, so it's not strictly Blythe. Because dolls are dolls, you know what I'm saying? Alright. So I think we got a pretty good ombre from black to gold. Yeah, didn't mean to do that. Yeah, the gold just doesn't blend as well with these other paints. It's just a little bit different consistency. So what I'm going to do is let that dry. Then I'll go over it with a second coat, and we'll work on the other eye while that's drying. Although this acrylic does dry pretty fast. It's probably already dry. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started over here. We're going to do the same thing. Get the black going. Then we're going to get some brown in there. I'm going to take that all the way up. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that. And then we'll get some gold. And sometimes you can kind of pat it if it's not mixing well, and that helps to blend it. Alright, so we've got our second lid done. Let's go ahead and do a second coat over here. I like the black down here because it's going to give it almost of a eyeliner look, you know what I'm saying? Down at the edge of the lid. And I think that will look nice. That will give her a nice look. So I'm just trying to make sure I get this blended really smooth. I don't want it to look like, you know, lines of black, brown, and gold. I want it to be ombre. Yeah, I like that. It's looking good. And we're going to go over here and do the same. I think 2 coats is going to be good for these colors because they're pretty much, that's covered up all the plastic. I don't really see plastic coming through per se. I've done this with eyeshadow before too. I actually did a doll and I used eyeshadow and it actually worked. I think because I had the matte medium, you know, it sticks to it and it wasn't patchy or anything. Okay, I wanted to show you the doll that I did the eyeshadow ombre look. So this is a dark purple up to a lighter purple. I like the way that turned out. Okay. So back to these eyes. Now that this part's dry, I'm going to start putting the dots, and I'm going to actually use a dot tool, which I have here somewhere. Always lose my tools. Oh, there it is. Got it. Okay. It looks like a paintbrush, though. So it's just a ball tip, and it's just easier to make it look round. So I'm going to put little dots of color at different places, different sizes, some small, some big. And I'm going to come over to this side. Not trying to make them look the same either. I want them to look different actually, the 2 sides. Alright, so that's gold. Now we're going to do some silver. See, I like this because it almost looks like little studs, which is pretty steampunk. So I think that's going to look good. And I'm going to try the bronze. I'm not sure if it's going to look a whole lot different than the gold, so we'll see. We'll put a few here and see how it looks. It's alright. It's a little darker, I guess. I think I'm going to put a few more silver in because I think that's more of a contrast, you know what I'm saying? think that's pretty good. I've covered most of the surface. Alright, now we're going to let that dry. And when that dries, we're going to spray all the surfaces with Mr. Super Clear that we've put color on. Now, one thing we'll do when this is dry, because I don't want to mess it up now, is I'm going to use aluminum foil to cover up the eyes and the mechanism, so when I spray it, we don't get matte medium on that. But we'll do that in just a minute after this dries. Okay, so I just took the doll's face out and the eyes as well, and sprayed them with Mr. Super Clear. If you have never seen it, it looks like this. I get it from Amazon. Also, you want to make sure, if you don't already know about it, that you use a respirator like this, because it is toxic to smell it, to breathe it. So, that's the downside of Mr. Super Clear. However, it does give really the best matte finish of any of the matte sprays that I've used. So, I did cover this up with aluminum foil, which is nice because you can kind of mold it around. It didn't really bother me to get it on that so much, and I was spraying it like this, so I got this covered, but I didn't get anything on the eyes or this mechanism. And I got the back covered as well. So these guys are all now covered with Mr. Super Clear and protected. So the last step for the face, in terms of color or anything, is I want to apply some clear glossy color to the lips. And I'm using this Tamiya color acrylic paint clear. I think I also got this on Amazon. I'll try to provide links for this and the Mr. Super Clear. You want to make sure if you're getting this that you're getting the matte, because there is a gloss as well. So, and there is one that's a UV cut. That's probably what you should get. This is an older bottle that I had. So we're going to use a small tiny paintbrush, and we're going to zoom in, and we're going to make sure that we're focused, and we are. Making sure we just keep this on the lips. You can do more than one coat, but thin coats, because I don't want it to run and I don't want it to clump up on the surface here. And it dries pretty fast. Now in the past, I have used this. This is Liquitex High Gloss Varnish. I have used that on lips and eyes. You can use that. I think this is probably a little bit shinier. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. I'm going to put another coat on there. See how it looks. I like that it's acrylic. Which makes the cleanup easy. And it's compatible with other acrylic paints. So we're going to get a shiny final coat with that. Alright, so this is going to be the end of this video. In the next video, we're going to talk about eyes. And what we're going to do, we're going to really go in depth with this. We're going to show you how to get these eye chips out, because you don't want to try to pry them out with a sharp object because you'll damage this white part. So we're going to show you how to get the eye chips out, and I'm going to show you how to make your own eye chips, because there are times when you want to do something different than just a pupil and color, and there's no sense in, you know, having to pay for that when you can do it yourself. It's not that hard. And especially for this steampunk doll, we're going to do one with some clock gears and that sort of thing in it. And we're going to put the eyelashes back in, only we're going to use new, more realistic looking eyelashes. So the next tutorial next week will be all about the eyes. So I hope that this one gave you some new ideas and some new techniques. And I hope you guys are working on your own Blythe doll. It's really a lot of fun. And when we see this girl come together, it's going to be so exciting. Can't wait. Alright, thanks a lot, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and look forward to next week's video as we continue the complete customization of this Blythe doll. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thanks and bye.